Okay, today I want to talk to you about something simple but interesting. It's ice and iPhone. Even though you may not realize it, they are highly related. Let's start with the ice part. This, as you will recognize, it's cold, is ice. And I got this out of my refrigerator. There's a little thing there that makes ice all day long, which is pretty remarkable, and it's free. We take that for granted. Every time I want an ice cube, I just go in there, there's a thing that goes donk, 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 and it makes ice cubes. Ice was not always free. In fact, it was not always so easy to get. In fact, it was a pretty rare commodity until very recently. Up until the 1930s, really, ice was difficult to come by, but it was a fantastic business. If you or your father was in the ice business, you were set for life. And the ice business was enormous, and it was global. There were ice fields or ice ponds in New England and up in Canada, and during the wintertime, before global warming, the ponds used to freeze over, and people would go in, they would cut the ice up into these giant blocks and store them in ice houses. Today, the ice house is a fancy place in Tribeca, but in those days, they were actually insulated places, mostly with straw, where in the wintertime, they'd put all the ice, and then they'd keep the melting from going down. They would sell it over the summertime. And ice was essential. I mean, ice was necessary to refrigerate. You know what you use a refrigerator for. Well, before there were refrigerators, there were ice boxes. You probably, I'm sure you're too young to remember, but your grandparents, certainly your great-grandparents, in the kitchen, instead of a refrigerator, they had a thing called the ice box, which had a compartment where you put the ice in and a place where you put the food in. It was highly insulated. And an iceman would come, like the Iceman cometh, and he would deliver the ice once a week. And so people had delivery routes, and they had monopolies, and there were ice trucks and ice wagons and ice tongs, and a whole ice industry grew up around this thing. And if you were in the ice business, you could make a fortune. In fact, ice was so powerful and so popular that there were ships that went from Boston Harbor to India carrying ice. Well, you can imagine when you showed up in Mumbai in the middle of the summertime, even before global warming, with a ship full of ice, you were pretty popular. Years ago, I went with David Kennerly. He was one of the first VJs, and we went to Vietnam, and in the jungle, it was before tourists came, and there was a guy who was an ice seller, and he had this giant block of ice, and he sawed off pieces of ice about this thick, and he sold it to you. And it was so hot, I bought one, I put it on my head underneath my hat, because that was the only refrigeration we had. Anyway, ice was a fantastic business, a multi-billion-dollar, taking away for inflation, business. It was a global business, and if you were in the ice business, you were pretty much set for life. You had an ice house or ice field or ice ponds, or you sold ice tongs. There were probably conventions of ice makers. It was huge. Then in 1873, a German scientist named Carl von Linden patents a method of refrigeration. Like every other new invention, it takes a while to percolate down. And in fact, it's not until 1926 that General Electric starts to make the first refrigerators using von Linden's refrigeration patent. But as soon as that happens, man, the ice business is over. It's over. And every single person who had ice fields or ice ponds or ice houses or ice tongs or ice delivery routes or made ice boxes, they're dead. They're just dead. It's over in a moment because of a new piece of technology that came along. It's not they were bad. It's not that ice was terrible. It's just this new technology came along and whack, killed the whole business overnight. And all the crying and complaining and arguing about how great ice is compared to refrigeration didn't do anybody any good because the ice business was dead. And all those people went bankrupt. And today, if you say I'm in the ice business, you sound like you're out of your mind. I see Bill joined us from Alaska. He knows about ice. There it's still free. But anywhere south of that, you had to pay for it. But with refrigeration, the ice business and the ice houses and the ice tongs, the whole ice business was dead. Now, what does this have to do with iPhones, other than the fact they both begin with an I? The iPhone, like refrigeration, invented by Carl von Linden and used by General Electric, is just like, iPhone is just like refrigeration, in that it's a new piece of technology that murders an old way of doing business. What's the old way of doing business? Well, to a large extent, it's the television business as it's conventionally done. And all the people in the production business and all my friends out there who are editors and cameramen and producers and stuff like, you're all dead. I'm sorry to tell you this. You're all like people in the ice business. Not that you're bad people. You know, you're great. I love you. You're very talented. But the technology is going to kill you. And the reason the technology is going to kill you is that this iPhone, which I'm using right here to communicate with you for free, is like refrigeration. It's a piece of technology that kills an old business. This is called creative destruction. It's Joseph Schumpeter, a Hungarian-American economist in the 1950s, coined this thing. New technologies come along and they kill old businesses. You can see what Amazon is doing to Kmart and places. Stores are, go down Fifth Avenue, the stores are finished. They're empty because everyone is buying online. The same thing comes with creating content. Now, we've got 40,000 cable channels worldwide, cable and broadcast channels, and they're probably pretty dead also. But now the killer here is that the internet is starting to broadcast, and anybody can have their own network, and this is going to happen. We're talking to a lot of people who want to start their own online networks and sort of circumvent having to go and buy time or commercial time or pitch programmings to Discovery or Scripps or people like that, and you can make your own. This confluence of iPhones that can shoot broadcast quality to 4K, edit, add music, add graphics, and transmit to the rest of the world for free, that's pretty astonishing, is going to destroy these giant production companies with their offices and their secretaries and their receptionists and their giant cameras and their big edit suites. It's not necessary anymore. Now, in 2 weeks, we're going to England, and we're going to run one of our boot camps, video boot camps. It's all full, actually, so I tell you to sign up, but you can't. But you can still sign up for the one in New York in October. And there we teach people how to use a phone, and in 4 days, how to shoot, edit, broadcast, transmit, whatever, broadcast quality, television, video, whatever, movies, whatever you want to call it. This is the iPhone, married to the internet, is like the invention of refrigeration. It destroys a whole class of businesses. But refrigeration, remember, created a whole class of business. Clarence Birdseye looked at it and thought, frozen peas, frozen vegetables, so frozen cars, produce coming from California to New York, which was never available before. So just as, this is why it's called creative destruction, just as refrigeration killed the ice business, and it was dead, so too iPhones married to the internet are going to kill conventional television production companies. That doesn't mean it's dead. What it means is there are all kinds of new opportunities and new businesses, and that's where you should be paying attention if you want to be a content creator and also make a lot of money, which I think is easy to do, relatively, if you're halfway creative. Anyway, that's today's special message. Lisa and I are actually off to Portugal, but I'll be live casting from Portugal, where I understand it's 110 degrees. So talk to you next time. Hope you like this. Bye.